We're live with Spencer Eccles. Spencer, it's so great to see you, my friend. How you holding up?
Yeah, we're doing well. I think it's stressful for everybody, but we're doing well. We're navigating this channel just like everybody else, and we've got a number of things going on between our small business at Cynosure and building a hotel, which is made it very interesting there, and then a few other things that we're working on.
Yeah, how's the hotel doing? How do you build a hotel during all this?
Yeah. Well, effectively, construction is considered an essential business right now, and so there are certain steps that have to be taken, and we're following all those, both CDC and the county that we're in, the guidelines there, and staggering shifts, working 24-hour shifts so you can stagger people. And the important thing about that is twofold. One, we're keeping people working, which is really important. The sooner we can get people back to work, the sooner we can get everybody feeling much better. And that's going to take effort from all of us in a lot of different ways.
So, Spencer, I brought you on. Well, one, just because you're a pillar of this community. You're likely future governor of this state, if my prediction is correct there. And Cynosure Group is incredible. But there's this executive education series that you're working on, I believe, in conjunction with the University of Utah and former Governor Mike Leavitt, that I think is just incredible. Can you talk about what you're working on there? Because I think those watching should really pay attention to this. I think it's going to be a lifesaver for so many businesses and executives.
Well, thanks, Clint, and thanks also for what you're doing and what's the whole group with the 12 people. And I know you've done a lot of videos and outreach to the community. The goal of this, the number one goal of this, is to give real-time, practical understanding of the environment and practical guidelines, or a framework, if you will, and ultimately a toolkit enable businesses to see through this to the other side of the valley and navigate in a way that they can keep their businesses going and in a way that they can keep their team employed as best as possible. We've named it Navigating COVID-19, How to Save Your Business. And it's in conjunction with the School of Business through the Mariner S. Eccles Institute for Quantitative Analysis and Economics. And so that group there, all of those incredible academics, the researchers, the professors, as well as tying in, we've engaged Mike Leavitt, former Governor Mike Leavitt, and former Secretary of Health and Human Services, to really help lead that, to vision that, and then pull all of these resources together and just give a boots on the ground framework to people so that they know how to think about everything from labor to their balance sheet to their P&L, their financials, how to engage with the bank. Do I furlough my employees? Do I let them go? Do I keep them on? How does that interface with policy and with stimulus coming down the track? And so rather than having kind of this broad brush policy discussion where we're telling what's going on, this is to be, look, you need to do this. You need to go here. This is how you should think about things. And tying that in with what Governor Herbert did through Derek Miller's efforts as the leader of the task force, Natalie Gochner, and a number of other community pillars like Clark Ivory and whatnot, to create a kind of a timing framework, the 3 phases, right? The timing of what we've got going on, of the first phase, kind of the recovery, and then the recovery phase towards the end. So that's what we're doing. And what we want to do, most important today, is get the word out. And if you go to eccles.link /Mike Leavitt, then you can get there. And I'll make sure you have that so you can post that on your webpage.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get that out there. Broadly, have you ever seen anything like this, Spencer?
Never, ever. So when you think about 2008, I took over as the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Development in 2009. We hit a market low in the stock market in March of 2009. And that was terrifying for all of us. We didn't know where the bottom was. We didn't know if it would stop. And the other thing was, we didn't know what to do. Should we pull back on the throttle or should we keep the throttle down? This is completely different. This is a situation where if you've managed your business really well, you've been very prudent about managing your leverage, if you had any, managing your workforce, where suddenly someone comes in and just snips the cord on revenue and everything seizes up completely. And not over a long period of time, just immediately. I've never seen anything. One thing I was thinking about was, if you go back to Mariner Eccles' time, and Mariner was my great uncle, and it's who this institute was named after. He ultimately was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and he restructured the Fed and the Banking Act in 1935. And he wrote a book called Beckoning Frontiers. And in that book, there was a chapter called The Pit. And in that chapter, it was in 1930, he reflects on the Depression. He reflects on the businesses that he was involved with that included banks and other things. And he talks about feeling like he was in a pit with no means of scaling the walls. He had, there was no playbook as to how to approach this. And up until that point in time, people didn't think about having government involved and stimulating the economy and putting people back to work. And he really had a lot of thoughts about it. He was giving talks, and that's ultimately what landed him in the Fed. But, we know that we got out of that through public works and through some stimulus from the government. And I think that's where we are now, but it's different when you can't go to work. It's similar, but it's different. I've never seen anything like this.
What advice would you have for small business owners, startup CEOs, executives, those who are leading teams, those who are making these really difficult decisions of, is it time to furlough employees? How many people, where can we cut costs? Who should we lay off? Who should we not? What advice do you have for them now? And obviously, they should all, get engaged with this executive education series. I think that's going to be critical and probably help, a lot of them manage the situation. But right now, what message do you have for those watching this?
Well, I think it's similar to the same message. We've got 10 portfolio companies at Cynosure. And I think the first message is, don't give up hope. We can make it through this. I think that's the most important thing. It's when we quit, when we disengage, we lose track of both ourselves and we lose track of our business. So that's the most important thing. Looking up to see bottom is tough. And I would then say, build a framework. If you engage and you start really thinking through things rather than seizing up, it will free your mind up. That's been our experience. And so with the governor's plan, there's a time frame. You've got the urgent phase, and then the middle, and then of course the recovery phase. I was talking to a nonprofit that we have some relationship with, and they had built their budget based on those phases about how to navigate that. That engages your mind. It's like, if you think about yourself lost in the wilderness all by yourself, one of the first things they talk about is get busy with a plan. And you get your mind off of the crisis in the sense that it's hopeless, but it gets your mind on the crisis in the sense that I'm going to make a plan navigating this. So that would be the first thing. I think the second thing is, I really do believe tuning into this, it's all for free. It's going to be a 4 to 6 week series. We're underwriting it as a family and partnering with Mike Levitt, and also partnering with all this wonderful expertise we have at this Mariner Eccles Institute. And then we're pulling in boots on the ground experts, people that are out there in the fight, to also help us navigate. And you'll come away with a framework of how to think about things. You'll come away with a toolkit, and you have to do the work. Obviously, I mean, this is real life and death stuff, and we totally get it. So we're not minimizing that, but we want to try and help provide solutions. So that's the second thing. And then I think the third thing is once you have your plan, and once you kind of have some sort of a framework, then of course get to work. And we'll go through employment specialists. We'll go through things related to the stimulus, how to talk to the banker, where do you want to engage in taking on any more leverage? What kind of risk are you doing? So those are all things, and it's going to be interactive to a certain degree. We'll be on Friday, this coming Friday. We'll be on the 3rd. You'll be able to ask questions, and we'll get to not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them, and then they'll be posted post that, so you can review and watch it afterwards. So those are my first thoughts. But the first one is don't give up and stay together, right?
Right. Spencer, you shared a book with me a while back that I think others should read as well, and it's Essentialism. And I think, now more than ever, that type of book of focusing yourself and your day on what's most essential is critical. Can you talk about that book and why? I mean, you shared it with me. I assume you share it with others, and why you think it's important even now. I think even more so now, right?
Yeah. Well, so we've shared it with our portfolio companies and with everybody in our team as well, and with friends like you. And the key to that is really taking a close look at your life and what are you doing that you can say no to. And it really starts off with talking about saying no to a lot of things. And for me, that's a hard thing to do. I like to engage. I like to move forward. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people like that. But the key thing is basically listing out the things in your life that you're doing and then learning how to prioritize. And it gives it illustrates that in a wonderful way. And I think, one of the things that was a key takeaway from me is also creating white space. We used to call that in business school, white space on a board or white space in your brain, where you have moments to actually sit back and have quiet. So almost meditation, but there's a lot of different ways to approach that. And then also have the time, read a good book, inspiring books, things that kind of free your mind up, if that makes sense. And those two things are helpful in a crisis. Sometimes, as much as we don't feel like we can, sometimes we've got to step back. We've got to take care of our body. We've got to get rest. We've got to get exercise, got to go on a walk and then get back into the fight. But we do have to clear our heads. And so that was an important point that I found in that as well.
Yeah, I would highly recommend everyone read that, and obviously tune into the executive education series. Can you tell everybody one more time where to go to tune into that, Spencer?
Yes, it's eccles.link/Mike Levitt, and that's ECCLES dot and then LIN as in Nancy K / and then Mike Levitt, and it's 2 T's at the end of that. And you can go there, and it'll take you, and you can register. This will be a 4 to 6 series, part series. But there's also every Tuesday and every Friday. The Tuesday will become a little more granular on things like labor, or on your balance sheet, or on the stimulus package. And then we'll also focus in on various groups like small business and nonprofits, and then sectors. So healthcare maybe, or tech, or manufacturing, things like that.
And we'll be sure to share that link out as well. Spencer, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on. And as this thing, continues, we'd love to have you back. Good to see you, my friend. Stay safe.
Thanks for getting the word out. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.